Welcome to another screencast. This time I'm looking at advanced FRedit use. So the important thing about FRedit is that it's a content-free macro. In other words, you can use it to do whatever find and replaces you want in whatever order you want. But also, very powerfully, you can launch from FRedit whatever other macros you want to, again in whatever order you like. The way I work is that I have a dummy FRedit list that has a load of different things that I might want to use. So for any given job, I load up that FRedit list, look through it, and decide whether or not I need any or all of the find and replaces and other macros for this particular job. So what I'm going to do is to talk you through that list, hoping to fire your imagination as to the sorts of things you might use to do your own jobs more effectively. Okay, so let's have a look at the dummy list. Here we go. So I've got the book name at the beginning, and I might need some of these items at the top. Have I got text boxes, footnotes, endnotes, and if I don't, I just delete them. And then track equals yes, that's a new feature relatively in FRedit. So what it does is when I run the FRedit list, if I haven't set track changes on, then FRedit will stop and say, hang on, you said you wanted the tracking on and you haven't put it on yet. So next we've got some macros being run from the list. IS to IZ, that's self-explanatory I think. Auto list off, that is so that we can change words automatic list numbering into real live numbers that I can actually edit. Next we've got language set UK, which is fairly self-explanatory. The next one is a new macro that hasn't even got in the book yet. I was finding that when a numbered heading followed a table, it didn't get picked up by find and replace, because after a table you don't have a carriage return. It's a funny character. So this adds a line between any table that goes before a numbered heading. As you can see, a load of the find and replaces have got lines through. That's the way I tell FRedit not to track change what happens for these find and replaces and macros, but it's getting in the way, so I'll take it off. So there we go, that's got rid of those, so we can see more clearly what's what. Next section here, find and replaces, wildcard ones, which go through and add an A tag or B tag or C tag to any of the numbered headings, sort of the hierarchical numbering. Then we've got multiple spacing when with punctuation. That's just a wildcard find and replace. I've said highlight multiple spaces because I don't just want to strip them out in case the authors have used multiple spaces, as they sometimes do, to pad out equations. Deleting tabs on line ends. Now Fig tab box tagger adds the tags angle bracket cap to figures, tables and boxes. And the next bit is a fairly complicated thing that I've done, which gets the spacing and tabbing of the figure and table captions. I'm not even sure it works properly, but anyway, that's what that is. Multiple carriage returns. As you can see there, I've got or to a single return, and that one has got a bar in front which says don't do that line. So in other words, that's there to remind me in case I do want it, but if I don't, it's not there. Then we've got highlighting tabs, changing straight quotes to curly quotes. This one's a funny wildcard thing which picks up double word, a word occurring twice in succession, maybe with punctuation in front of it or between it. I'm assuming that superscripted hyphens are actually going to be supposed to be minus signs, so I've put those in. You'll gather a lot of my work is scientific. BS and EN numbers, this is putting it's protecting those so they don't get changed by the number range changes that occur next. Space dash space. Authors tend to use 2 angle brackets to mean much greater than or much less than. So I'll change those. Next one, thin spaces to go with units, and this often needs changing when I get to a particular job, but at least I've got the various bits and pieces there that I can use. That one I think is highlighting degree signs that have got the space in front. A few standard words that I can never remember how to spell supersede, so I always put that in there. Then we've got different alternative spellings for US and UK. This is an interesting one. Ensure. I like to, if someone's reading ensure something, do you mean ensure it, or do you mean ensure that it does something or other? And so I highlight the word ensure if it's not followed by the word that. So that prompts me to look at it and say, well, should it have a that or not? Sections, headings and figures in lowercase, they might need an uppercase, so I'm just highlighting those. Volumes and numbers for the references list, just changing those to the particular format I want, but again that may not be right for a given job. Amidst and amongst, formatting of CO2s and those sorts of things. So that double semicolon is what is the code that's used within those formulae. Superscripted THs and RDs, which I don't like. Funny square and cube symbols. Oh, I forgot to say this dummy FRedit list, I'll put it in the book so that you can have a look through it at your leisure. You don't need spacing with some punctuation. You can see that the spacing is there in front of the comma and the question mark and so on. What's this one? Oh, just highlighting eds where they occur in a references list. Nearly at the end. Some 4 macros here that I use. If I've got Vancouver, I run my citation list checker. This one, Fig tab box lister, gives me a list of all the captions and the citations of those, so I can make sure that every table and every box and every figure has actually got a citation to it. What's this? Full stop on captions. Yes, I work for Wiley a lot. They like a full stop on the end of a figure or a table caption, and so this puts full stops on them. The paragraph end checker, that will look at all the paragraphs except headings, and if there is not a punctuation mark on the end of the paragraph, then it will highlight the very last character of the paragraph, because it's all too easy when you're reading through a paragraph, you get to the end and you move to the next paragraph and you haven't noticed that there wasn't a full stop at the end of the paragraph. And the bars there is the end, the hash is it says that's the end of the FRedit list. Sometimes I need to highlight the color words, because if it's a black and white book, authors sometimes say look at the orange line on the such and such, and this is to prompt me to look at that. It's just occurred to me that it might be quite helpful to have a look at the FRedit list for the job that I'm working on at the I've just finished working on. You might recognise some of it when we look at it from some of the other videos. So there's the track equals yes. You recognise some of these, and some of the macros at the beginning there have disappeared. There may be some extra things in here that I've put in. Masculine ordinal, that's one of the, when they use all sorts of funny things for degree symbols. The units are still there. Then down here, this is where I've pulled in the hyphenation. I've covered that on another video. So those are all in there, all the non-words and the whatever. So that those would be sort of globally type ways of adding hyphens to some of the non-words. And then these would be from the proper noun lies, where I've spotted some of the proper nouns that are incorrect, and I think that's probably about it. Yep, that's it. Well, I hope that's been useful, and I hope that it helps you to use FRedit more powerfully.